Today we have a new addition in form of these 3T Racemax Italia, which will be my gravel race bike for this season. And yeah, just like last season, the gravel national championships are one of my goals. So last year I was second. Today I want to do, not today, this year I want to do one better. And this should be the tool that helps me achieve that. A big advantage of this bike over my previous Factor is the tire clearance in gravel. As we are finding out recently, the bigger tires, the better and faster. So this bike should help me with that. And I got it in this form. As you can see, this is the SRAM Force 2x build. The Zip 303 wheels, as 3T mostly do SRAM builds. However, there will be quite a few changes that I'll be doing to this setup, as you can probably take a hint from my other bikes. So let's just first talk about the features of this particular bike and frame set, most importantly. What do you get with it, and what am I planning to do with it in order to be as efficient on rough terrain as possible and also as aerodynamic as possible. So this is the top of the line gravel race bike from 3T. I've been also thinking about the Ultra for a while because that has even more tire clearance, but it's less aero and the course will be, racing shouldn't be as rough. And most importantly, this bike has geometry that better suits me because it's still quite a bit more relaxed than the Factor that I had, and the Ultra is even more relaxed. So of course, we'll try to make that as aggressive as possible to get really nice and low. To talk about features of the frame set, it's typical 3T stuff as you would expect. So we have the Fundi style fork, which means you get a true axle, of course, same design as on other bikes, as on my road bike. You get a direct flat mount on the front, which helps save a bit of weight and complexity, but also ties you down to 160 rotor. This shouldn't be an issue with gravel bikes though, as it's nice to have that extra braking power. Then we get an integrated headset with, this time in this newest edition of this bike, you get fully integrated brake hoses, as you can see here. And that is in part afforded by the new More Integrale stem. This is the longest version, as I've requested for this bike, so it's 120 millimeters long. And the hoses are routed underneath it, basically. So yeah, it's all very neat. And on the front, you can actually install a computer mount, another neat feature. And yeah, in order to get the lowest stack possible, of course, you'll need to cut the steer and slam it, as I do on most of the bikes, as I ride quite low saddle height. This frame is available in 3 different colors, so that's the Italian tricolor, of course, and the Project X version, which is raw carbon. This is the Verde. I really like this color because just kind of visible, and we want to, of course, give 3T as much visibility as possible. This will help us achieve that, and yeah, I really like how it looks. Really nice quality paint job. It's kind of a metallic iridescent finish to it. But as with all Italian-made 3T frames, we have this little window where you can see the carbon weave, which is a neat touch. Talking about the rest of the frame, so the top tube has a similar profile to my Strada road race bike, except it does have mounting options for a bento box, which I do use sometimes, so that's quite neat. You don't need to mess around with straps or anything like that. You can just bolt it tight to the frame, so that's a lot more practical. The down tube has quite an extreme shape. Firstly, it's really wide in the top section to take the airflow from the wide gravel tire and keep it attached, so this is good for aerodynamics. And it bulges out even more in the low section to shield the round water bottles that you would use, and also quite a big length, so it should do that effectively regardless of the bottle size that you do decide to use. The bottom bracket area is quite massive as it uses a BB386 Evo standard. It is press fit, but it uses a thread together cup design, again similarly to my Strada. One change I'm going to do here is I'll take out the stock bearings that come with it and replace them with some ceramics for more efficiency and more durability in off-road conditions in particular. As you can see, this bike is currently equipped with the front derailleur, which for me is a bit limiting in terms of tire clearance, so that's going to be removed. It also has a removable derailleur mount, but I think I'll keep that and install a chain catcher of some sort. So I've yet to decide on that. Maybe I'll also try to use it without. We'll see how it goes, but for racing I think the extra security of a chain catcher will be the way to go. One slight limitation of this frame set, in my mind at least, is the chainring clearance. Now it's quoted that you can use a 48 tooth non-offset 1x ring on this, which is a bit smaller than I would like. I also have a 50 to try, so I'll try to maximize that, maybe do a bit of an offset on the cranks, just like I did on the Factor to fit the 52, so I'll have to play around with that for sure to get the maximum chainring size possible for the best drivetrain efficiency that I can achieve. As for the bottle cages, this bike does come with a standard 3T plastic bottle cage, but for racing again on gravel, I'm going to use something a bit more sturdy with a very secure hold on the bottles, because in one of my gravel races that I did last year I had a problem with bottle ejection, so I don't want to repeat that, and I don't want to race dry basically in summer conditions. It's not very pleasant at all. The chainstays are actually quite dropped on both sides, again for tire clearance and to preserve their short length for handling. Basically, that's what you want for a nimble handling bike. The seat post is, I believe, the exact same one that Strada uses. So it's a D-shaped or kind of a camtail profile with an internal binder. It works very well on that bike, so I don't think there'll be any issues with that. The rear of the bike, so of course we have a through axle, and it's again the same standard and the same hanger as on the Strada. It doesn't yet use the UDH like the Strada Italia uses, or the very latest road bike that I'm going to get soon, which is a bit of a shame. I would have preferred to use that one because it does allow for more options in terms of drivetrain selection and also hangers. You can get a really nice stiff Silca hanger for there for direct mount. That's not an option here yet, but in the future I'm pretty sure that this will be updated. Then we have the upper rear triangle. Again, this is quite an extreme design. Firstly, to shield the wheel aerodynamically. Again, the width is matched to gravel tires, and yeah, it actually has quite a lot of clearance on both sides. So yeah, there are some official figures that you can use as a guide, but we'll see how those shape up on my wheels. As I said, it does come with Zip 303 wheels, but I'm riding head wheels still for this season, so that will be part of the upgrade package that this bike is going to get. The rear caliper mount is also a direct flat mount, so you don't need to use any adapters, and again it ties you to 160mm rotors, which, you know, previously I've been using 140s on most of my bikes, were applicable because I just don't need that much brake power, but now I got used to it. It's the same on my road bikes, so that's what I'll be using. So these are the features of the frame set, more or less. Now let's talk about the specification. So I've already mentioned the wheels, and I'm going to replace these with the updated head Emporia GC3 Pros. This is the front wheel. As you can see, there are some new graphics on there, specific to me, of course, white to showcase that it's a head product. And yeah, the few changes, I don't think these are public yet, so maybe you're hearing it here first, but now, unlike my previous wheel set, it uses bladed spokes and external nipples on them, so that's more aero and more practical. Maybe the rim profile has also changed a little bit. I really don't know. I didn't get any information regarding that. But I do like these changes, both of them. One thing I will do is I will install some ceramic bearings also in the front hub. Since it's a low pressure gravel wheel, it also uses a hookless design, which off-road I think is great. Not so much on road, but here it's a good use case for it. Also, it does have a slight aero profile, again suited to perform well with wide tires, so it should be plenty fast. And this is a pretty light wheel set as well, thanks to the hookless profile and the relatively shallow width. And as for the rear hub, I'm going to stay, of course, for gravel it probably makes the most sense of all the options. So this is a classified equipped rear hub. So I'll be doing one by on the front with the chainring as big as possible, yet to be determined, and classified in the rear just to give me the extra gear range without interfering with the tire clearance. As a fun fact, the tire clearance that was limiting me on the Ostro was the very first reason why I was looking into classified in the first place. So yeah, this is where we are now with all my bikes transitioning there. It's just a great system and I love how it performs. So it will stay on here as well. Obviously, for a gravel setup, the tires will also be a critical part of the system. So here I basically have two options that I'll be looking to explore. So I've already ridden these Continental TerraSpeed 45s, really fast rolling tire, good grip, good comfort, really supple also, not as sturdy as some other options, so the puncture protection isn't as huge, but I'm a pretty light rider. Oops. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue, hopefully. We'll see. The other option is perhaps even faster, but I haven't tried these yet, and it's the Schwalbe Gravel RS or G1 RS. This again tests very fast in terms of rolling resistance, and a lot of people seem to really like it. Also, the brown sidewalls on both should be a good match for this otherwise very green bike. So these are my tire options for now. Of course, I might deviate from that. Groupset wise, there will be also a big change. I really wanted to try the new SRAM Red that I've shown you earlier on the channel, but then the new GRX from Shimano came out, and I do have a bit of a Shimano preference. So that's what I'm going to use for this bike. Actually, it could arrive even tomorrow possibly, or sometime early this week, which will enable me to finish that section of this bike build. And this frame force will go on sale, so if you're interested, then feel free to reach out. As for the cranks, I'm going to use my trusty Power to Max system with the rotor Altu 30mm aluminum cranks. Now, these cranks are extremely sturdy, so that's the main reason I'm going to use them for gravel. They can really take a beating, which, yeah, in off-road conditions, they certainly will do. And of course, you get the bulletproof measurement from the Power to Max spider-based unit. So yeah, this will remain unchanged, 170mm cranks. I don't really find the need to use shorter ones because this is not such an aggressive position on this bike. The chainrings, well, I do have a 50 that I could maybe hack on there despite the recommendations. Ideally, I wouldn't want to go any smaller than that, so we'll see how I'll be able to sort that out. Pedals, another critical part of a gravel setup. These are my trusty Speedplay paves. So this is a now discontinued pedal, pretty rare as well, particularly in this titanium version. But I just find that they're really great for my type of gravel use because they're essentially a road pedal, but they do have some mud clearance and they are speed plates. So it's what all of my other bikes use. And they're also small Q factor, low stack height, so ideal for high performance applications. Also, the bearing drag on these is really quite low. The downside is that they need to be serviced quite often. So for handlebars, I have three options. I have the 38 centimeter Ergonova from 3T. This is a standard kind of an ergo shaped round bar with internal routing. So this is the bike comes with. A neat thing that if you order this Italian made bike, you can actually specify some of the choices or the component specifications. So I've chose obviously the narrowest handlebar that I can use and also the longest possible stem, again to match the fit to my requirements. However, I also have some two other interesting handlebar options. So one of them is the Korean made Project V from Wheelworks. And this is actually quite a funky looking handlebar that I got from my friend over in Korea. So cheers for that. This is the bike that they'll probably go on. And this is basically a handlebar that will make the UCI quite angry because it allows you to turn the levers in and right kind of a supported forearm position within the rules. We've yet to see how they will like that, but that's one of the options. You can get the levers down to a very, very narrow width with this one, so basically a time trial option. This is a brand new product, first time I'll be using something like this, and maybe we'll do, most likely we'll do some aero testing also with different bar setups. So this is one of them. The other one, also slightly unconventional, is the Aero Coach Ornix. This again is a very narrow aero-focused road bar, which will be good, I think, for this type of riding, as gravel is a lot about going solo at high pace for a long time. So yeah, this also is kind of suitable for that. Obviously, both of them have internal routing and are made of carbon fiber. That probably is no surprise. And both of them are also flared, which again helps when riding on gravel and doing some bit more technical routes. However, as far as I know, the course shouldn't be any technical in gravel terms. So aero and efficiency over rough terrain is the most critical for this bike setup. This is the bento box that I've mentioned. It's an aero one from Toe Peak, also sturdy plastic on there and nicely blends in with the stem. We'll probably aero test this to see if it's worth having on even if it's empty. My guess is yes, but we'll see, of course. Now I have some titanium bolts for the bottle cages. Eventually, you have some small parts for the BB and stuff. And yeah, this seat post uses a Ritchie style clamp like on basically all of my other bikes. So I have carbon seat post ears in case I change the saddle. However, I really do like this San Marco saddle. Although soon I should be getting more of the Wolf Max saddles that I really like on my road bike. So ideally, I would want to have that one here as well. And yeah, for that Ritchie clamp I have a titanium bolt, just a finishing touch. Another outlier from the Shimano Groupset that I'm planning to use will be these Hope floating rotors. So I've already started using these on my road bike. I originally wanted to use the carbon TI ones that I have on the time trial bike, but due to lack of availability, I decided to try these. And they work really, really great. So I'm going to stick with those on this setup. 160mm center lock at both ends, of course. So that's the rotors. Then, of course, have the classified actuator and handlebar unit. So this will be needed to actuate the rear shift. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for now for this bike. Now what we need to do is set up the wheels and wait for the GRX Groupset to arrive in a couple of days, and then we can put it all together and start riding it, hopefully. Yeah, I think the most problematic part will be finding the correct crank spacing and chaining setup to match my needs as best as possible, but the rest of it should be pretty straightforward because these are all components that, apart from the handlebars, that I've been using previously. So yeah, it's been a while since I have done any riding off-road, so I'm really looking forward to that bit of a mix-up. It's generally a good idea to have one of these bikes if you're training a lot, just for a little bit of variety in there. So that's another reason I'm looking forward to this. And then, of course, there'll be some fun gravel races to do still until the end of season and until the nationals. Quick update from the building of this bike. As I predicted, the GRX Groupset was very quick to arrive, so we are installing that right now. And it looks like most of the parts of the bike will actually be ready quite soon. So these are the new GRX levers. Not a huge amount of changes compared to the regular or the previous version, except of course it's 12 speed and wireless like the road group sets. Still has servo wave, and the button layout has been modified a bit, but and of course hood shape, etc. But more on this a bit later when I test that out. So when building a new style of bike, often there are some unexpected changes, and this is no exception. So I previously mentioned that my plan for the BB is just to exchange the bearings in the cup like I've done with the Strada, but in this case that will not work because it's basically the same BB shell. But the thing is here that unlike on the 24mm version, here actually the bore in it is not 42mm like, well, most bottom bracket bearings use, but it's a dub specific one. I don't know for what reason. It's totally unnecessary to have a separate one, but the 6806 bearing for 30mm cranks will not fit because the bore is just 40mm instead of 42. So I haven't really fully decided yet if we just take this and increase the diameter of the bore, but there might not be enough material. I need to measure that out, or just to get a separate BB, whatever is quickest, I would say. So this is one thing that probably will not enable us to finish the bike just yet. The rest is pretty much okay. One slight complication with the front wheel as well. That is not holding pressure at all, and I would suspect that the problem is with the rim tape, so we'll probably need to change that. The rest is working pretty much fine. We need to cut the seat post still because there's not enough insertion for my saddle height, And yeah, the big thing that we wanted to try, and I was most wary of, is the chaining size. But since we don't have the BB, we can't try that. So unfortunately, that will delay the build by a few days. So yeah, this is the situation now. Hopefully these things get resolved sooner rather than later. So I'll keep you updated, of course, in a future video when this is all ready and operational. See you until then. If you'd like to see more of that also, not just time trialing and road racing content, then of course stay tuned to the channel. And if you'd like to have one of your own bikes like this built and optimized for you, then of course don't forget to reach out through our website so we can help you out with building your dream road, gravel or time trial bike. That's all for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.